just some roundaway girls doing our thing, being authentic, being real, being relatable to a lot of women and men. And that was a huge part of our success, as well as timeless music.
My breakup was very traumatic. My divorce took 4 years. I thought I was gonna have my family together forever. So it was really dark. You have the ability to validate yourself, right? And also separating yourself from relationships that aren't good for you.
At 59, Cheryl "Salt" James is finally opening up about why her 28-year marriage to Gavin Wray really ended. For years, she stayed silent, but now she's confirming what had long been rumored. Gavin came out as gay after their divorce.
I got divorced in 2018. I haven't had a date since, child. Isn't that crazy?
Well, that's gonna change in a minute.
From building a family, to fighting for a one-sided marriage, to being left in emotional darkness, Salt says she lost herself in the process.
I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And God just brought me to my knees, and he just showed me where I was just compromising.
Cheryl "Salt" James didn't just walk away from her marriage. She was driven into one of the darkest times of her life by revelations that few relationships could survive. This wasn't just a breakup, it was a breaking point. So let's get into it. Cheryl "Salt" James was already royalty in the hip-hop industry when she married Gavin Wray in the early 1990s. As one half of the groundbreaking duo Salt-N-Pepa, she had revolutionized female rap with hits like Push It, Let's Talk About and Shoop. She wasn't just another female rapper. She was a cultural force who helped shape an entire genre.
In order to be heard, you almost have to be a little more assertive in order to even be taken seriously.
The chemistry between Salt and Gavin seemed genuine and deep. When they began their relationship in the early 90s, it appeared to be the perfect match. A music industry powerhouse finding stability with a supportive partner. Salt was at the height of her fame, and Gavin seemed content to stand by her side through it all. At industry events, award shows, and in the rare interviews where she mentioned her personal life, they appeared to be completely in love. They were the couple everyone admired for their longevity. Salt, with her commanding stage presence and business acumen, and Gavin, with his seemingly unwavering support. Their relationship lasted for an impressive 28 years, becoming one of hip-hop's most enduring marriages. But despite how stable things looked from the outside, behind closed doors, their relationship was built on a foundation that would eventually crumble under the weight of secrets, unfulfilled needs, and fundamental incompatibilities. From Gavin's shocking revelation after their divorce to the devastating reality of how Salt diminished herself to make the relationship work, Salt's marriage was far from the success story it appeared to be. So, what really happened between Cheryl "Salt" James and Gavin Wray? Before we dive into the heartbreak, we need to talk about the most devastating revelation that came to light. In 2019, after nearly 3 decades together, Salt and Gavin Wray finalized their divorce. What initially appeared to be another unfortunate celebrity split soon revealed itself to be something far more complex. A truth so shocking it would rewrite the entire narrative of one of hip-hop's longest marriages. The bombshell dropped when, following their separation, Wray revealed that he was gay. Let that sink in for a moment. The man who had been married to Cheryl "Salt" James, one of the most influential female MCs in hip-hop history, for 28 years, had been keeping this fundamental aspect of his identity hidden throughout their entire relationship. Industry insiders were stunned. Fans were bewildered. But for Salt herself, this wasn't just celebrity gossip. It was the collapse of her personal reality.
My breakup was very traumatic. My divorce took 4 years. I thought I was gonna have my family together forever. So it was really dark.
Sources close to the couple revealed that the revelation didn't come as a complete surprise to Salt in the final years of their marriage. There had been signs, tensions, and unspoken issues that had slowly eroded their connection. Still, having suspicions and facing the confirmed truth are 2 entirely different experiences, especially when your entire adult life has been built around this partnership. Just imagine spending nearly 3 decades building a life with someone, raising children together, celebrating holidays, weathering industry storms, presenting a united front to the world, only to discover that the foundation of your relationship was built on an unspoken truth. For Salt, a woman whose public persona had always embodied strength and authenticity, this revelation struck at the very core of her identity. In an emotional interview with the Jasmine brand that left viewers stunned, Salt didn't hold back about the devastation she experienced. "I'm newly divorced for about a year, and I went through a really difficult divorce. It was hard. One of the darkest times of my life because it took so long. I was with my husband for my daughter's 27, so 28 years." This wasn't a woman casually discussing the end of a brief celebrity fling. This was raw, unfiltered grief, the kind that comes from losing not just a partner, but an entire version of your life that you thought was real. What makes this revelation particularly heartbreaking is how it forced Salt to question everything. Every anniversary celebration, every family vacation, every intimate moment, all now had to be re-examined through this new lens. Had it all been a performance? Was any of it authentic? These are the kinds of questions that can haunt someone long after the divorce papers are signed. Industry psychologists have noted that discovering a spouse's hidden sexuality after decades of marriage creates a unique form of trauma. It's not just betrayal, it's an erasure of the relationship as you understood it. For Salt, who had built her image partly around being a successful career woman who maintained a long-term marriage in an industry known for its failed relationships, this was a devastating blow to both her personal truth and her public narrative. Close friends of the rapper revealed that she went through periods of blaming herself, wondering if there were signs she should have seen earlier, questioning if she somehow wasn't enough. This self-doubt, they say, was perhaps the cruelest part of the entire experience. What made the situation even more challenging was that Salt couldn't simply make a clean break. As parents to 2 children, she and Gavin would always be connected, forcing her to find a way to rebuild a relationship with the man who had fundamentally altered her understanding of their shared past. The timing couldn't have been worse either. This deeply personal crisis coincided with professional turbulence as Salt-N-Pepa faced their own group controversies with DJ Spinderella filing a lawsuit against them. Salt was simultaneously dealing with public criticism and private heartbreak, a combination that would have broken many people. Yet those closest to Salt say that even in her darkest moments, she maintained a dignity that was remarkable. She never publicly vilified Gavin or exposed details that might have been harmful to their children. Instead, she focused on her own healing process, demonstrating the same strength that had made her an icon in hip-hop decades earlier.
I'm in therapy, and I've never really consistently done therapy before, so I've been doing that and just figuring out why I was in that position in the first place.
For Salt, the end of her marriage wasn't just about losing a husband. It was about losing her identity as one half of what many had considered a hip-hop power couple. After spending the majority of her adult life as Cheryl Ray, she now had to reclaim Cheryl James, not just legally, but emotionally. When the truth finally came to light and the marriage ended, Salt wasn't just dealing with divorce. She was processing a profound sense of betrayal and questioning the authenticity of her entire married life. When I was coming out, it was a long process of me coming out of the dark part of being divorced, she shared, revealing just how deeply the end of her marriage affected her. This period of darkness wasn't surprising given the length of their relationship and the shocking circumstances of their split. After dedicating 28 years to her marriage and family, Salt found herself not only dealing with divorce, but also processing the revelation that her husband had been living a life that didn't align with the one they had presented to the world. The emotional impact was devastating. Salt described it as one of the darkest times of her life. a telling statement from a woman who has weathered numerous professional and personal storms throughout her decades-long career. What makes this particularly heartbreaking is that Salt had already faced so many challenges in her life, from industry sexism to body image issues, from the pressures of fame to public scrutiny. She had overcome so much. Yet this private betrayal seemed to affect her more deeply than any public challenge she had faced. Now, what's remarkable about Salt's story is her approach to healing after such a profound betrayal and loss. Rather than rushing through her emotions or burying them, she chose to face them head-on. "I didn't try to rush through emotion and the death of my marriage," she explained. "I really focused on healing and being consistent with whatever I had to do." She added that faith in her Salt-N-Pepa partner, Sandra Denton, aka Peppa, helped her get through her difficult time. "A lot of it had to do with my faith. A lot of it had to do with being around my girlfriends who I know love and support me, and them being available to talk. I talked to Pep a lot. I cried a lot. I didn't try to rush through emotion and the death of my marriage. I really focused on healing and being consistent with whatever I had to do. I took a few classes. I did a little therapy. Whatever you have to do to get yourself out of it, you will one day eventually get past it." For Salt, the healing process wasn't just about getting over her marriage. It was about rediscovering who she was outside of that relationship. After nearly 3 decades of making herself small, she had to relearn how to take up space in her own life. When Lifetime approached Salt-N-Pepa about creating a biopic chronicling their groundbreaking career, it presented a dilemma that many public figures face. How much of your personal pain are you willing to expose to the world? For Salt, this wasn't just about sharing her musical journey. It meant potentially reopening wounds that had barely begun to heal. In a candid moment that revealed her inner conflict, Salt admitted, "It's exciting, and it's something that Pep's been wanting to do for years. I've been afraid to do it because it's so personal, but Pep ain't having it. She's like, we have to tell our stories. So here we are." This hesitation speaks volumes about the intensely private nature of a woman who had spent decades in the public eye. While she had shared her music, her style, and her public persona with millions of fans, Salt had carefully guarded the intimate details of her personal life, particularly her marriage to Gavin Wray. Industry insiders revealed that Salt's reluctance wasn't just typical celebrity privacy. It was a protective instinct born from still raw emotional wounds. The biopic was being developed just as she was emerging from what she called the darkest time of her life. The timing couldn't have been worse for someone still processing such a painful revelation. While Peppa was eager to tell their story in all its unfiltered glory, Salt approached the project with caution, drawing firm boundaries around what aspects of her life were off-limits. At the top of that list was her relationship with Gavin. "They've been, in the past, delicate relationships," she explained, her careful wording revealing just how cautiously she approached the subject. "Nothing so much with myself or with Pep, because it's our story." Those who worked on the biopic revealed that Salt was intensely involved in the script development, reviewing pages with a protective eye not just for herself, but for her children. How do you explain to your kids that their family history, including painful details about their father, might be dramatized for millions to see? This wasn't just about protecting her own privacy, it was about shielding her family from additional pain and scrutiny. Sources close to the production noted that Salt was particularly concerned about how her children would process seeing their parents' relationship portrayed on screen. Salt's concerns extended beyond just content to the creative liberties that might be taken with her life story. "The reservations that I had was definitely the story being as true to life as possible. You can tell your story, and then by the time it goes through a writer, director, and a movie company, sometimes it's not exactly what you want to portray." Salt wasn't just worried about how the movie would look. She was worried about how it would feel. She's been through enough in real life to know how painful it is when your truth gets twisted. Back when Salt-N-Pepa was blowing up, Salt was dealing with something heavy behind the scenes: bulimia. All the pressure to look a certain way in the music industry really messed with her self-worth. She admitted that she often felt like she didn't measure up to Pepa or Spinderella, and those feelings pushed her into a dangerous cycle with food. The music world, and especially the expectations put on Black women, made her feel like she had to change herself just to be accepted. Getting better wasn't easy. It took a lot of soul-searching, leaning into her faith, and, ironically, support from Gavin, the same guy whose secrets would later break her heart. Their relationship was complicated. He helped her heal, but he also hurt her deeply. Salt also shared that early in her career, people in the industry actually told her she should get an abortion if she wanted to succeed.
I was actually asked to have an abortion. I won't say by who, but to your point, yeah.
It was a heartbreaking situation and shows just how unfair the rules can be for women chasing their dreams. Looking back, she's called that one of the hardest decisions of her life, and it just shows how much she had to sacrifice and struggle with, even before her marriage issues came out. While her personal life was falling apart, Salt-N-Pepa's legacy kept growing. But even that came with drama. The group that helped shape hip-hop history was dealing with their own behind-the-scenes issues and public blow-ups. For starters, in a wild twist of timing, the same year Salt's marriage officially ended, DJ Spinderella, the third member who had been part of Salt-N-Pepa since way back in 1987, dropped a bomb that rocked the hip-hop world.
I'm getting the short end of the stick. This is not about money, clout. This is not a publicity stunt. My legacy is my baby. You're gonna tell the people that I wasn't there when I was, but we don't have to be together.
After being with the group for over 30 years, Spinderella announced she wouldn't be touring with Salt-N-Pepa anymore. But this wasn't some creative disagreement or friendly split. It was the dramatic result of what people close to the group said were years of growing tension and feeling disrespected. Spinderella, whose real name is Deidre Roper, didn't just quietly fade into the background. She hit back with a lawsuit, putting the group's dirty laundry out in the open. She claimed breach of contract and said she was owed hundreds of thousands in unpaid royalties. According to the legal filings, Salt-N-Pepa had pushed her aside and underpaid her, even though she'd played a huge role in shaping the group's sound and identity.
But we definitely should acknowledge the work that was put in, and that is on my back. The three of us did that. The three of us had that schedule.
People who had worked with the trio said the signs were there for a long time. Spinderella had felt like the odd one out for years. When the lawsuit went public, it put those private frustrations on display, and fans were left wondering if Salt-N-Pepa's message of sisterhood really held up behind closed doors. What really stung were the details that came out about the Salt-N-Pepa show on VH1. While Salt-N-Pepa were the stars of the show, Spinderella was reportedly treated like a side act, only brought in for guest appearances and paid way less. It was a clear sign of how much her role in the group had been downplayed over time. Music insiders couldn't ignore the tough timing. This blow-up with Spinderella came right when Salt was already dealing with heartbreak and personal drama. As she tried to process her husband's betrayal in private, she was now also being dragged into public drama by someone she once called a sister. Fans who had grown up with Salt-N-Pepa saw them as a tight-knit team of strong, empowering women in hip-hop. So watching them fall out so publicly was hard to watch. And for Salt, it was a double hit. Personal heartbreak and professional mess all at once. But through it all, she somehow held it together. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more complicated, the money problems started creeping back into the spotlight too. The group was involved in legal battles with their former manager, Sandy Gallen, over allegations of financial mismanagement. They claimed they were cheated out of earnings from their successful albums and tours, highlighting the vulnerability of artists, especially women of color, in an industry not known for its transparency or fairness. These financial struggles added pressure to Salt's professional life, even as she navigated her personal challenges. The stress of fighting for fair compensation while also dealing with the breakdown of her marriage must have been overwhelming. Today, Cheryl Cheryl Salt James has emerged from the darkness of her divorce with a new perspective on life and relationships. She's become more open about her personal struggles, using her platform to discuss everything from her battle with bulimia to the challenges of her marriage and divorce. In doing so, she's created space for important conversations about women's experiences in the entertainment industry and beyond. Salt has also leaned heavily into her faith, finding strength in her spiritual practice and using it as a foundation for her healing journey. This spiritual grounding has become central to her identity in recent years. As for her relationship with Gavin, they continue to co-parent their 2 children, navigating the complex terrain of post-divorce family dynamics. While the revelation about his sexuality fundamentally changed their relationship, they've found a way to move forward as parents. For Salt, the journey from heartbreak to healing has been long and difficult, but in sharing her story, even the parts she initially wanted to keep private, she's offered an important reminder about the power of authenticity and the courage it takes to rebuild after betrayal. Her willingness to discuss making herself small in her relationship has resonated with countless women who have done the same. Her openness about the dark times following her divorce has created space for others to acknowledge their own pain without shame. In many ways, Salt's personal journey mirrors the revolutionary spirit she brought to hip-hop. Just as she broke barriers as a female rapper in a male-dominated industry, she's now breaking the silence around painful truths that many would prefer to keep hidden. At 59, Cheryl finally confirmed what we all thought. She was never just somebody's wife. She was always something more. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.